Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And today we've got a very interesting combination to test, and it's one that one of you guys suggested that I try, so I figured I'd bring it out here and test it to see what I could actually get out of it. I definitely think it's going to be pretty interesting to see what it gives us. But as for today's setup that we've got out here, I brought out my old Mossberg 500A here, but it has a 30-inch fixed full choke barrel on it. And I did measure it out. It comes out to be roughly 695-ish constriction, which is pretty typical full choke type of range. So a very old school, interesting little setup that very well could give us some pretty impressive results with today's shells. But as for the shells we've got out here today, I brought out some of these. Some of the Winchester Longbeard XR 12 gauge shells. They are a 3-inch, 1 3/4 ounce payload of number 4 shot, moving about 1,200 feet per second. And big thank you to Jack for sending this box of shells. They've been pretty good performers so far, but how can they actually perform with this old Mossberg 500 with a fixed full choke 30-inch barrel? One of you guys said that your old Mossberg with a full choke like that really likes lead 4s and performs well with them. So I figured if there's a shell that's gonna give us a good pattern, it's gonna be the Longbeard 4s. So how well are they gonna actually work together today? I don't know, but it's absolutely going to be interesting to see what happens. But as for the test today, everything is set up the same as usual. We're not handicapping this old setup whatsoever. The turkey paper is going to be at 40 yards. I've got the chronograph. We can get our velocity out of them as well. So we'll get you guys to view the target, take the shot, look at the chrono, and then look at the results. I think it could really go either way with this combination. Sometimes these old, really long fixed choke barrels can give you some surprisingly good patterns. Other times, it's just kind of mediocre or disappointing. But let's go over here and take this shot and just see what kind of a result we're able to get with this combination. Okay, so that shell gave us 1137 through the chrono. The box claims 1200, so that's a little bit surprising considering we have a 30-inch barrel that we would see a little bit under their claim, since typically out of my 28-inch barrel 1187, we see a little bit over their claim, like 1230s or so. So that is a little bit surprising. It could just be this particular shell, manufacturing tolerances or whatever. It's a possibility. Either way, 1137 for lead 4s is plenty good enough, but how did they actually pattern down there at 40 yards? Let's go check it out and see what we actually got. All right, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And we absolutely have a dead bird here. I mean, there's 5 or 6 through the brain there and a number more of them down the spine. So with lead 4s, you're absolutely going to hammer this turkey. And I gotta say, for being an old school, fixed full choke, 30-inch barrel like that, that is a solid pattern for what this combination is. Is it the best pattern we've seen with these Longbeard number 4s? No, it's not. However, it is plenty good enough, obviously, to take you a bird at 40 yards with. We even have a little bit of resemblance of a core starting as well. We do have one little bit larger gap in that core right about there, but I mean, you can see right there that we have a definite concentration of pellets at the bottom of his neck as compared to the rest of the pattern. But as for the rest of the pattern, it is definitely a little bit more splotchy and a little bit more broad and open than what we typically see out of these shells through a modern turkey type of choke type of deal. So it's not perfect by any means, but if you were to have this turkey pattern in like the 90s or 2000s, that would be a very solid turkey pattern for you. And still today, it's plenty good enough to take you a bird. Now, I'm really curious to see if we run the Longbeard 5s and 6s through that same gun, if our pattern will actually fill in a little bit. If it stays the same overall size, but we have more pellets to fill in those gaps, it might really look pretty decent, even though this isn't bad whatsoever, all things considered. So I definitely think it's worth testing those to see what kind of results we can get out of it. But I have a feeling that the Longbeard shells are really what is kind of holding this pattern together. They do tend to perform a little bit better with that shot lock technology stuff through the little bit less desirable type of chokes like the fixed full choke barrels and stuff than a standard buffered load of number 4s would. Either way though, that's a very solid turkey pattern for what it is. And if that's the combination I had, I would be confident in it out to 40 yards. So even though it might not look as impressive as some of the modern setups, that just goes to show that even with an old setup, if you have the right shell that performs well with it and you know your ranges and stuff, you can absolutely turkey hunt with it just the same as anybody else with a modern setup. So looking pretty good overall today considering our combination, and I definitely think we should test more of the Longbeard shells to see what kind of results we can get out of those as well. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell, and it is your very much typical longbeard wad, and it looks about as realistically perfect as what we could ask for. It's not absolutely opened up evenly. The two outside pedals here did open up a little bit farther, but there's nothing stuck down in there. There's no snags, there's no pinholes, no rips, anything like that. So I definitely think the wad did what it was supposed to do through today's setup. It's just an old school fixed full choke barrel with not quite the constriction of the modern turkey choke type of stuff. But the wad, though, looks perfectly fine. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that pattern right there? Is it as impressive or hot or pretty looking as some of the modern turkey combinations we've tested with those shells? No, it's not. But that is still a plenty solid enough pattern to reliably take a bird at 40 yards all day long. And if this was 15, 20, 25 years ago, that would be a great turkey pattern. But still, even though it's an old school setup with a lead shell, that's still plenty good enough to take out turkey hunting. So that definitely brings the idea of testing the Longbeard 5s and 6s through that shotgun as well, because I think we might be able to fill in a little bit of that and maybe even get a little bit better of a pattern with those little bit smaller shot sizes. But I don't know. We're just going to have to test it and see. But as always, leave your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Do you have an old Mossberg 500 with a fixed full choke barrel or something similar and have tested these Longbeard shells through it, or have another type of loading or shell that really performs well? And would you hunt with that kind of a pattern? Let me know all that down below, as well as maybe what other shells might you want to see us test through that shotgun. Either way, at the end of the day here, I would absolutely hunt with that combination if it's what I had. It might not be the prettiest or the tightest pattern, but it's going to be a reliable pattern for you is what I'd say. And really, that's all you need. As long as you get your birds into the ranges that you know and you're comfortable with, that's going to take it all day long. So definitely looking pretty good here for what this setup is. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.